Diversity. Spain has very high levels of diversity. Now don't get me wrong, prejudice and intolerance are everywhere, and you will still also find them in Spain. But the vast majority of people here have an incredible live and let live attitude. You see this in how restaurants and shop owners do not harass street hawkers. They just let them ply their trade even on their premises, and are often good friends with them. People ask me if racism exists. Well, of course it does. But they don't realise that they are asking me the wrong question. Does racism exist for me as a black person in Spain? Yes, in the same way it exists for me as a black person everywhere. But the real question is, who receives the most prejudice and racism in Spain? You see, every nation has its own particular group that it is prejudiced against, meaning that I receive less prejudice than Latin Americans or even Gypsies, the so-called Gitanos. A few years ago, in the recession, it was the turn of the Chinese, as many locals resented Chinese businesses flourishing while unemployment was at an all-time high. As usual, these swings in prejudice are backed by populist movements, encouraging people to blame an other, usually a foreigner, for all their ills. Now, homophobia is a difficult one for me to discuss because I'm heterosexual. But all I can say is that from what I've seen, outside of the odd verbal slur, people in Spain are quite accepting of all genders in terms of the way they actually treat you. For example, two coastal areas, Torremolinos and Manilva, host huge pride celebrations attended by the whole community. In my opinion, the biggest area where there is a lack of diversity is in disabled access. Pavements start and stop with cliff edge falls, if they exist at all, and I often wonder what it would be like to try to navigate a wheelchair through a Spanish town or onto the beach. Pet care. Like most of the world, the Spanish love their pets, and like the rest of the world, there are good and bad owners. I keep hearing reports of maltreatment of pets amongst the Spanish, but I see the same shameful animal neglect in the UK and elsewhere, so I don't think it's anything particularly cultural going on here. What I do find particularly odd, at least among people in my area, is the reluctance to put dogs on a lead. It is almost treated as a badge of honour to have a dog that you can control with commands, and a badge of shame to have to put it on a lead. But as anyone with a dog knows, dogs will listen to you when they want, and when they don't, This leads to all sorts of problems, and I have often had to scoop my dog up as a 200-pound dog comes bounding towards us from nowhere, only for its owner to arrive running behind it 5 minutes later. For me, the habit of walking your dog trailing 6 feet behind or ahead of you is just the most jarring cultural habit, and I'm personally convinced that this is just a ruse to avoid the responsibility of picking up your dog's mess. Because when you're 6 feet ahead of your dog, which is not on a lead, of course you didn't see it shit on the paseo or the beach. Now, if you love horses, Spain has lots of equestrian centres at surprisingly reasonable prices, and the coast is littered with independent veterinary clinics to help your dog, cat or tortoise when they're unwell. Community and making friends. Yes, the myth of the welcoming Spanish community is real, but moving country at any age is hard. Making friends and finding deep, genuine connections as an adult is difficult, even more so when you're surrounded by people from different countries and cultures with differing values and backgrounds. So making true friends in a different country later in life can be hard. And you will make this much more difficult by calling yourself an expat and walking around with a sense of superiority, repeating or agreeing with statements like, if it wasn't for us, they'd all still be riding donkeys. This attitude keeps you away from making friends and leaves you in a self-made ghetto of your own countrymen, which is a much smaller pool of people to choose from and find genuine friends in. And here's something people don't talk about enough. Seaside towns often attract people running away from something. Think the movie Mona Lisa, or even the Ozarks. I mean, con artists, narcissists, abusers, and the abused, very damaged people. They move away because it allows them to reinvent themselves. They embed themselves in the community of their national peers. They're charming at first, and by the time you realize who they really are, the damage has been done. I have so many examples of this, from the well-known geezer, known as Honest John, who one day was arrested for being one of the biggest drug traffickers in Europe, to Steve, who sold a cut-price cruise to everyone in his local pub and then ran off with the money. The Spanish, they know each other, most since they were born. So if you're not too arrogant to take their advice, they can warn you about one of their own. But they don't know the foreigner who just arrived, and neither do you. So yes, community is wonderful, but don't walk into it blindly. When you live amongst other migrants, people have a habit of becoming your best friend overnight. A simple hello turns into drinks, barbecues, and days out. But just remember how little you really know about them. Use your common sense, take it slowly, and keep looking out for red flags as the relationship grows. Love and relationships. If you come to Spain and you're single, sorry, I can't help you. I was married when I arrived and I still am. Please leave commiseration messages to my wife below. My advice in this area would mirror what I say about friends. Don't restrict your romantic search to one nation or culture. Take time to get to know people well and look out for red flags. When I arrived, I was told that the best way to learn Spanish was to get a Spanish girlfriend. Keen to learn the language, I thought this was great advice, but my wife refused. So if you find a Spanish partner, perhaps you can let me know how learning Spanish is going. Church. Spain is a mainly Catholic country, although I'm led to believe that, like most religions, each generation is practicing less and less. That said, I see the younger generations well represented on Saints' Days, and it still seems to be quite an honour to carry the pasos or kronos, like the casket of the Virgin Mary, or to play in the band that accompanies it in the procession. Also, with its long history of close proximity to Morocco, Spain has a large and practicing Muslim community with mosques in most major towns and cities. Again, in my 20 years here, I have yet to see an interfaith dispute. People of one faith just treat those of alternative faiths as people. Wow, what a concept. But as so many cultures have now made their coasts their home, a number of additional faiths can be found. So whether you're a Baptist, a Jehovah's Witness, or a Buddhist, there are places of worship and fellowship for you.